Hi, it's Corrine. Thanks so much for stopping by. Today I'm sharing this gift that I made for my son for Christmas, and this holds gift cards. Probably about 10 years ago, I saw a 15-second clip on Pinterest, I believe it was, that the lady used one of those little brag books that you get for babies where it has the clear pockets on the inside, and she presented the gift cards that way, and I thought it was such a great idea. Well, this year when my husband and I were discussing what we're going to do for our son for Christmas, we have the hardest time buying gifts for him. For his birthday, for Christmas, we have such a difficult time. He is so hard to buy for, and it's not because he's picky or particular. It's just he's an adult, he's out on his own, he has a good job, so if there's something he needs, he buys it for himself. He never asks us for anything. He's never been the kid to ask for things. He started working on his own at, I think, 15. He chose to, and since then he just, what he wants, he buys for himself. He pays his own bills. So we decided, so usually for birthdays we give gift cards or, you know, something like that. So we decided for Christmas that's what we're gonna do. So I wanted to present it to him in a way, and I couldn't think of what to do. And I remembered that little brag book that lady did, and I thought it was such a good idea. Like I said, I wanted to just kind of put my own spin on this. So for this entire book, I'm using several Echo Park digital collections. I like using digital because if I need to resize something, I can just print it out and resize it. And I'm using about 4 different collections that all go well together. I'm using Echo Park Snowed In, Celebrate Winter, I Love Winter, My Favorite Winter, and I'm also using Cartabella's Welcome Winter throughout this book. Here I put a piece of Peacock, Concord, and 9th cardstock, and I do have a tutorial showing how I made the book itself. I did not film the decoration of the book because number one, I'm in a rush to get things done for Christmas, and number two, it just would have been a really long video. So on the front here, I used some more Concord and 9th papers, and Tim Holtz Retro Presents. I added some gold glitter to this one. This is supposed to be this is like or has a little bit of a rose gold or maybe a champagne. I guess that's what it's called, is champagne glitter paper, and then blue glitter. Super cute, and these are popped up. Just these 2 presents are popped up. As you can see, I used craft cardstock, and I used a binder ring, which I will link to down in the description box, that I got from Amazon. Again, I backed that with some Cartabella Peacock. I thought that went well together. So this book is about 7 3/4 by 7 1/4. And I have it open all the way up with the binder or the binding ring here. These are nice because they're just the screw-in kind, so they're super easy to work with. I've made other albums with this. So when you open it up, I have just a little label that says Merry Christmas, love Mom and Dad, with a heart. I'm not sure if my son's gonna love a handmade present from me, but I think he'll appreciate the time and effort I put into it, and I thought it was a great way. It's gonna make me feel good to give him these in a way, instead of just giving him gift cards. So on the front here, I did a journaling card on, as you'll see as we go through, a journaling card backed on craft cardstock. All of these are backed on craft cardstock. And on the front here, I have this little library card. I got this from the online silhouette store. If this is something you wanted to recreate, because I think this would be great for anything, birthday gifts, anniversaries, I think you could incorporate this into any type of occasion. So if you wanted to recreate this, you could just Google library digital download. You could cut it out yourself. Me, I printed and cut it from the Silhouette Cameo. So each one is going to pertain to the gift card. So this one says, when you need a little extra help waking up, and as you turn the page, it's a Starbucks gift card. Every single gift card is being held in a pocket, And in some of them I just added an extra journaling card just because it looks good with it. So here I use the Concord and Ninth Cup of Kindness die set, and I used, I believe this is Pretty Pink Posh, the layering mittens die. I used some Distress Oxides and did the layering dies to make the paper for both of these. This one is a Jaded Blossom layering die, and then I added the little cozy or the sleeve for this small one and the hearts to them. So again, this one is when you need a little extra help waking up, and then you have a Starbucks gift card. This one here is when you need a little prime time shopping. So we have an Amazon gift card in this pocket. I use this beautiful, I believe this is a penny black, I could be wrong, die, and I did cut that out twice from some scrap cardstock that I had. This is from a Tim Holtz, the Noel and Joy. It's large tidings, I believe. On this side, when you need a little zing in your wing, I put that for a Buffalo Wild Wings gift card. And on the front here, I use the colorized dies from Tim Holtz. I thought those were super cute. Those were super fun to put together. Let me take this out so you can see it. Super cute. On this side, it says, or maybe you need a little guac me up for Chipotle. These are all places that I know he loves. Here again, I used the Tim Holtz Big Tidings. Added 2 red bows there. On this side, when you want to grab a bite close to work. So we have a Skinny Fats, which he likes to eat at, gift card. I used the little trees from that same die set from this die set here. Added some gold stars to them and a cute little journaling card. He won't journal on these, I know this, he won't use this, but like I said, I wasn't sure how I wanted to gift these to him, and I had fun making it, so I think that's what matters. Here's this one, when you need a little healthy food shopping. So we have a gift card to Foodie Fit, which is a place that he likes to shop from. Again, some more gift cards, journaling cards rather, just again because they're cute. This is a paper tray ink die. I stamped it, die cut it, and then I put this silver metallic paper on it. I love this collection. On this side, and when you do, so this one is when you need a little healthy food shopping, and when you don't feel like shopping, we have a McDonald's gift card and another little card because it looks cute. Here's some Spellbinders snowflakes that I cut out, and this is a Jaded Blossoms, this North Pole. I really enjoyed this album, making it. On this side, when you're craving to eat more chicken except on Sunday, Chick-fil-A with another little card. Here's the Big Tidings from Tim Holtz. I doubled that, gave it a little shadow with the white. It comes with the outline die, but I didn't want to use that. On this side, it says sometimes cash is not an option. So we have a Visa gift card in here. On here I used, this is from scrapbook.com, and I did 2 different trees and gave them some highlights for the maybe snow on it. And then lastly on this one, it says, so this one was sometimes cash is not an option and sometimes it's the only option. And then we actually put some cash in here. I used the My Favorite Things snowman, and again another little journaling card from the collection. So please, if you'd like to learn how to do this, I have a tutorial coming up. I did not decorate designing it, but I show you how I put this entire album together or book together. So leave me a comment, let me know what you think of it, and I hope you subscribe to my channel, hit the notifications for more videos, and please give it a thumbs up. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great day. So to get started, I'll go over some of the items that I used, and here's another quick flip through of a similar book that we're making. This one, I used Felicity Jane papers, and I also put a little elastic piece in here to hold a pen, and I used a rose gold binder ring. Again, I'll link down in the description box where I got these, which was from Amazon, and I just put some notebook paper in here with different tabs. So you can make one of these as I'm doing to hold gift cards, or you could do it as a journaling book, a drawing book, photos, anything you'd like. I haven't completed the cover of this because I haven't decided what to do yet. So let me set that aside and show you some of the items that I'm using for today's project. So here's the gold binder ring. I also have this. I purchased this from Amazon as well. I'll see if I can still find it and link it. It punches the perfect holes. You can adjust it whether it's a A7 or larger, and it'll punch the holes. So I'll see if I can find that. If not, you can just mark the holes yourself and use a hole punch. I have two 8.5 by 11 craft cardstock that we're gonna wrap the outside with. I have some pockets, and we'll go through all this again as I make it. Here's some journaling cards from the collection, and I also cut out a matching craft cardstock piece to mat it. This is going to be the papers cut for the pages themselves, and this is cut to 5 3/4 by 6.5. Here's some pattern paper that's going to go the inside cover and the outside cover. I will have to cut these down. They're roughly cut to 8 1/4 by 8 1/4, but I'm going to have to adjust these once I know the final sizing. And then for the covers, I'm using more of a lightweight, maybe a medium to lightweight chipboard, 2 pieces, one for the front and one for the back, 7 1/4 tall by 7 3/4 inch wide. And my spine is 7 1/4 because it needs to match the height of my book. And I cut it to about 1.5, 1 9/16, so tiny bit tall, wider than 1/2. So again, 1 9/16. I just kind of eyeballed that. I just held it up to it to be able to see the height and allowed a little extra room. Same with these bottom pieces. How I got to this measurement is I decided the size that I wanted my pages to be, which they are 6 3/4 inch by 6 inches. And you need to, I'm going to attach this to the back cover, so you need to allow enough room that when these are sitting in here, which this is my tester piece to figure out where exactly I wanted my hole punch to be. And then it has a guide here that you can keep in place, so every time you put the next piece in, it's going to punch it in the same spot. So I eyeballed that as well. So depending on where I wanted to adhere down my binder ring, I laid out my paper like this at the longest point and then cut my chipboard cover to that size. So again, that ends up being 7 1/4 by 7 3/4 inch wide. Yours would depend on what size book that you're making. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me put some of this aside. We're going to start with the outside covers. I'm going to overlap them. For that, I'm going to use some 1-inch tape, just go along the edge here. This is essentially how I wrap my mini albums as well. Use my craft pick. Okay. I am also going to grab a small piece of Tyvek. This is a recycled piece from a envelope that I've gotten in the mail. I save all the pieces from it. Even if it has the address on it, you just want to obviously hide that. I'm going to put that under my spine piece. This is not necessary, but it does help to secure when the book is being open and closed. So let me just take a little bit off of that. I'm not quite going to measure it, just kind of eyeball it. That's perfect. So I want to go ahead and add tape to the entire bottom of this and adhere it onto my cover wrap or cover pieces. I also have another video on my channel that shows alternatives to Tyvek, but you can purchase a box of this, which I have gotten from Office Depot in the past. I try not to use that. I try to use recycled just because of the cost that's involved. I try to use all my recycled pieces first, but you can purchase that. But I also have a video showing a couple other alternatives that you can use instead of Tyvek. But like I said, this is not necessary. It does help the integrity of the spine though. I've shown this in other videos. I've made a chipboard guide because I like to wrap my covers with 1/2 inch. A lot of other people may do 1 inch. It's just personal choice, but I have a 1/2 inch template. It's just 2 pieces of medium weight chipboard glued together, but I like to use this as my guide. It'll kind of help me line up where I want to be. And in this case, my chipboard covers are 7 1/4 tall. So I have actually a little extra room. So I'm just going to leave a little bit of a gap and I'm going to lay this down. Just kind of centered. It does not have to be perfect. Okay, and the next thing I want to do is go ahead and add tape to my spine and adhere that down as well. me just try and center that a little bit, lay that down. Okay, so now I need to add my front and back cover. I meant to add tape on this already. Just gonna go around the perimeter of this. I like to add both double-sided tape and wet glue, just to make sure there's no bubbles in the front cover and that it's adhered down well and will last. Okay, give that a good press with my bone folder. And then I need to make sure that these are in the, because they're 7 1/4 tall, so I need to make sure I'm putting these on the right way. And again, in a previous video, I've shown the same template, 2 pieces of medium weight chipboard. This is the gap that I like in my books. So let me go ahead and take off the tape backing. I'm using Beacon Fabri-Tac. Any wet, well, I shouldn't say any wet glue, because some wet glues will show streaks through your cover page. Not necessarily a craft cover page because it's a thicker cardstock, but if you use like a thinner white piece of cardstock, it may show through the front. So that's why I like to use this, and you just want to do thin. So again, making sure I have this in the correct orientation. I'm going to use my little guide. Press that down. And I like to use my brayer to really press that down, make sure the glue is dispersed, the wet glue. And then I'm going to turn it over here, do the same thing on the back. I'm not too worried if it did show because I plan on putting cover paper, but if this was your pattern paper, you don't want that glue to show through. Okay, so now I'll do the other side. I'm going to flip it this way just because I work better from the right side. Again, remove all my tape backing and add my wet glue. Okay, so again, just really press that down, make sure it's adhered well. And this chipboard here that I'm using is, it's different than the stuff I purchase. So I wrote on it just to remind me that the matching pieces, so I know it's the same weight and thickness. It's from those magnetic sheets that you purchase for your dies. Or I save the cardstock that comes in with cardstock that you purchase. I like to save all that and reuse that if I can. Sometimes it's a little too thin, it doesn't work well, but most of the time, like this, it's pretty thick. So again, using my little guide, this is to keep my fingers away from the blade. Don't ask me how I know to do that. But this is 2 pieces of chipboard and another 1/2 inch, because as I said, I like to wrap with 1/2 inch. So by setting it, let me give you a closer look. I set it on this 1/2 inch and it grabs onto that glued on chipboard, and that's gonna, when I cut it, it's gonna leave me with a 1/2 inch border. You can use a craft knife, you can use scissors, you can eyeball this, you can use a pencil and pen and follow that line with your scissors, whatever's easiest. This is easy for me. Okay, so again, this is the same way I wrap my mini album covers. Exact same way. So I want to go around here with a 1/4 inch double-sided tape. Looks like I have a little bit extra on one side than the other, which is totally fine once it's covered. Okay, so I'll use my bone folder and press that down. Start to bend these pieces just to get them going in the way that we want. Break up those paper fibers. Which will help us wrap it. Okay, so now I'm going to use my little, this is from Colorways. I'm not sure if they still sell this. That was off of Etsy, but it leaves you that little perfect mitered edge. You want to leave about an 1/8 inch so you're not cutting all the way to your chipboard. And the reason I put my tape on first is that way I have edge to edge tape. So my tape goes all the way to the edge. By doing it this way, if you miter the corners first, then you have to worry that you might leave one of the edges exposed slightly with no tape. And I like to make sure the tape goes all the way to the edge. Okay. Again, I'm just gonna increase these. And then I am slightly gonna cut them again, which I'll show you here in just a second. Take off all the tape backing. I like to start with my long edges first. I'm just gonna start in the middle here and just kind of work my way down. Then I'm going to go back over this with my bone folder. Do the other long side, starting from the middle, working my way to both ends. And I'm kind of pushing as I'm going to make sure I have a tight wrap here. Press that down. Now here's where you want to cut the corners slightly. If we fold them over, let's see if you can see that. If we fold them over just like this, you're going to have this extra bulk there, which you don't want. So I like to use my sharp scissors and eyeball it and just cut a little bit off. See that. So now you have this little piece here you have to tuck in, but first let me just go around and cut all of these. Again, I'm just cutting just the tiniest bit off to get that extra bulk out of here. You want to be careful not to cut too close to your chipboard or else you will expose the chipboard again in the final book. So now with my bone folder, I want to tuck in these extra little pieces. Just grab them and tuck them in there. And then fold it over. And I slowly fold it over to make sure those are tucked in well before I actually press it down. Do the same to the other side. And I have a perfectly mitered corner. Next thing I like to do is just go around the perimeter of my book with my bone folder. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is decide on papers. I kind of came to a little bit of a decision that I want that for the front. Front and back, and then these will be the inside. So let me see how I'm going to do these here. So I'm thinking I'm doing these like this, and then using one of these, probably this one, for the spine piece to go over that. So over the spine, I don't want layers upon layers of paper. So I'm going to cut these down. Let me, since this doesn't really matter, I'm going to eyeball this, the width, to kind of see where I want it to go. I want to leave a little gap showing the craft cardstock. I think I'll come to about here. So that'll, that's going to cut this paper down to approximately 7.5 wide. And then for the height, it's 7 1/4. So I think I'm going to go to 7. So 7 by 7.5. And I'm going to do the exact same thing with this one. And I want to cut the height to this one. So I'm going to cut all 3 at once in my big trimmer, just so I can ensure that I have the same height. Okay, so I cut the front and back cover at the same time, all 3 of these to the same height at the same time, just to ensure that they're cut exactly the same. And then I cut these down to 7 by 7 1/4. I'm going to go ahead and adhere these down. I already have the double-sided tape. I'll use that for this one mostly. So I like to just remove one of the backing pieces, leave the other one on. And that will help me be able to move it around to be able to see where exactly I want this. And like I said, I want to leave a craft border so you can see it. And I did not want to overlap this spine piece. Being that I'm putting another piece over, that way it's not too bulky there. That looks pretty good, so I'll adhere this down. I'm using some Barely Art Glue in a fine tip bottle. So I'm just gonna, being that I already added the tape, I'm gonna remove that tape backing and just add my wet adhesive along the sides here. And actually I'm going to switch the beacon just because this is such a fine tip. It's going to take me longer. Use my brayer to really press that down. Now I'll do the back side. Again, for this I'm just going to use the Beacon Fabri-Tac. I think it's going to be a little bit quicker. I just always want to make sure my edges are down really well, that they're not coming up. So I like to go around all the edges. The good thing about this too is if a little bit of it seeps out, it wipes right up. You just kind of roll it off. Or you can use an eraser, a glue eraser. So again, same thing, I'm just going to eyeball this the best that I can. Okay, now for this, I'm going to use a combination of both wet and double-sided. The reason is when you're folding your book, if there is a gap here in adhesive, you're going to see a gap in your paper. So you do not want that gap. So to ensure that I'm not going to get that gap, I'm going to use double-sided tape to make sure it's adhered along the spine where it opens and closes. The rest I can use wet glue. To come out a little bit. Again, you don't want to have that gap where there's no adhesive. It will definitely show. So I'm going to go ahead and press that down. And now I have to determine how much of this I want to overlap. I'm just going to eyeball this, take a little bit off the length or the width, rather. Yeah, I think I like that. You also don't want it too short where the book closes because, again, you're going to get a weird gap. So I like to overlap it slightly, and I think that'll look good. So I'm just going to kind of see where I need to, how much. So probably a good inch on both sides. I need to add wet glue to. I'm also going to add a little bit of wet glue right into that spine. So let me remove the tape backing. That way instead of if you put the wet glue on first, it's going to start drying, but my double-sided adhesive can sit there. So I'm going to make sure I go around all the edges again. This Fabri-Tac, you can get this Beacon brand, you can get from Amazon or Walmart, and I believe also from Michael's and Joann's. So it's very easily accessible. It's kind of like, what it reminds me of is like a cold hot glue. This stuff's fantastic. I've used it for, I don't know, 10 or 15 years. Okay, so now I want to come in a little bit because I know there's no double-sided tape here. I want to go into that spine a little bit. I am not shy with my tape or glue. I'd rather make sure a project stays together. And I'm actually just going to go over this slightly just to, oh, that's where I have the tape, so never mind. Okay, so now we're just going to try to eyeball this. I guess we'll do it the right way here. Okay, so as you see, I had it upside down. Like I said, that little bit can make a difference, so I'm just going to add a little more glue here. That looks perfect. And then just press that down, use your bone folder and your brayer. And as far as your bone folder, you want to very gently, before the glue has had a chance to dry, kind of put your spine, move your front and back cover up and down, just kind of show it where the spine is going to be so the glue has a chance to, or the paper has a chance to glue down to that spine, and very gently with your bone folder go in that crease. If you push too hard, it will rip the paper. Another thing that you can do when you're doing this is you can use a border edge punch. This is for my son, but if I was making this for a girl, I think I would use a lacy edge punch. Okay, now I usually like to put something on it and just kind of set it aside to dry for a little bit, especially because we've used wet glue. Obviously, if you're using strictly double-sided tape, you can just move on. But for me, I'm gonna put this on it and set it aside. Okay, so while that's drying, we're gonna do our inside pieces. So our inside pages, as I mentioned before, are 6 3/4 by 6. This, like I said, I just used this as a sample to try and figure out what size I needed my pages to be. And actually I've started most of the book just to save time, so I just have a couple pieces left here to do. So I'm going to go ahead and use my wet glue and adhere this onto the page. Then the next thing is a pocket. All of this was I just kind of eyeballed what I liked, and I liked the look of this. So I simply took a piece, where's my sample, of the same matching cardstock and cut it to 6 inches. So it's going to match the width of my paper. And then I wanted it 3 inches tall from the bottom, so I cut it to 3.5. That gives me a 1/2 inch tab to glue this down. So I put it on my scoreboard at the 3.5 and scored it. Let's just go ahead and quickly make one. So this is cut to 3.5 by 6 inches. And I'm going to give myself a 1/2 inch tab. So I'm going to score it from this side at 3 inches. Then you want to miter the corners. So just take a little bit off the edge of each one. That's going to eliminate a little bit of bulk. So as you can see, I took just a tiny bit off. And then give that into the bump. Give that a good crease with your bone folder. Okay. So now that we have that, I'm just going to adhere my glue. If I was adding a lot more to the pockets, I would add tabs to these sides as well. But for my purpose, it was not necessary. I just needed a bottom tab. But if I needed to hold a lot more in the pockets, I would add tabs on the side too. But in this case, we're going to just glue directly down on the sides. So I'm going to line that up at the bottom. Line it up with the sides as well, and just really give it a press. And another thing is you don't need to cut your paper the full length of your book. At the time, I didn't know exactly what I was going to do, so I went ahead and cut it cut the papers, and then it was after that that I decided to do pockets. So while this has something heavy on it to dry, I'm going to do the same thing with my journaling card and add that to a mat. Again, so it all ties in together. And now I need to add my pattern paper to my pocket. So I'm going to do that real quick and give that a chance to dry. And I find it easier to add the pattern paper after the pocket's down. Just leave myself a nice little border, try and match it up to the pattern paper on top. So some of these I'm going to glue on straight, and I've done most of them already. Some of these I'm going to glue on straight, and then others I'm going to just put a little angle to them, but this one I'm going to have it go straight on. And I'm keeping in mind that I am going to be punching a border, so I'm leaving a little bit of space. Such cute collections. I absolutely love Echo Park, probably some of my favorite papers. And I have these numbered just so I kept them in order. So I'm just going to kind of put that off to an angle, but I do think I want to put a little bit of, and these were cut to 2 3/4 by 2 inches. I think I'm going to put a little bit of foam tape. Let me see if this is a good size foam tape or not, or a thickness I should say, because I'm going to put a little bit under since this has a little bit of bulk to it. No, those actually seem a little too high. So let me grab some different foam tape that I have. I can cut a piece of cardstock, a thin piece of cardstock. This is the same cardstock. These do not have to be perfect. A little too many at one time. Let's try a few less. All right, let's see. Let's start with those and see how this works. Push these off to the side. Now for this, I'm going to use my Barely Arts glue in the fine tip bottle and my tweezers. This is all the same matching cardstock, so that might be perfect. Yep. Let's see how much I'm going to. Trying to leave a little of that card. So let's put another one up here as well. I'm happy with that. So we're still gonna go back and decorate the pockets as well. So this is where the gift card will go. Here's the second page. Okay, so now I've completed all of these. Next thing I need to do is hole punch these, which, let me just do this one more time to make sure I'm happy with it on my sample. Yep, that's gonna be perfect. So let me put all this aside. And I want to do them all the same way just in case it's off. So I think I'll do them from the bottom here. I need to make sure it's pressed all the way in because it's a little thick. Okay, so change of plans. I had said we're going to use this, but we're not. And let me show you the reason we're not going to use this. So it was just a little too thick for this. So if you have one of these, I would suggest to do it layer by layer instead of doing what I did, and I did not test it out that it would work. I just wanted to get all my pages done, and I had the pockets, and I'm using craft cardstock, which is thick. You could have done the craft cardstock, the pattern paper, that might have worked without the pocket, but one of two things I would suggest. So what I did is, do you remember I had my template that I first figured out how I wanted to punch these holes that fit in here perfect? So all I simply did, set that aside, all I simply did is use my template. Let me just make sure, I think I had it this way. Yeah. So all I did was use my template and my Crop-A-Dile and punched it out this way. This Crop-A-Dile will go through so much. It's so easy to use. So this thing was still very handy to get my holes in the perfect position, so I could turn around and use this. And it works great. I made my other book with it, but I didn't have thick cardstock and pockets and such, which I should have known better, but that's okay. So now I've already done all the pages, hole punched and got the little journaling cards on the front. So what's next is to okay, I think I'm going to wrap this as a spine. So let me go ahead and cut my papers down. Again, I want to leave a little bit of a border. So I'm going to cut them to 7 inches. And I'm going to use my large cutter and cut them all at the same time so I can ensure that they're the same length. So I think I'm going to use this as the wrap, so I need to get another piece. I'll be right back. So I'm just making sure I have a good border, top, bottom, and this side. Make sure that's adhered down very well. Okay, and now I'm going to do the back here. Same. So my spine piece that I plan on wrapping, I've already cut it to the height, but I have not cut it this way yet because I just wanted to kind of eyeball it. So I think I'm just going to take a little bit off. 5.5, and that's probably perfect. This does not have to be perfect, but I'm going to try and get it generally about the same on both the front and gently fold it because I want it to dry like this. So same thing, I'm going to put something heavy on it, let this glue adhere. In the meantime, I'm going to go pick up some cardstock that I think matches well. I pulled out some Concord and 9th. I know that I'll be able to find a color that goes well with this. I love Concord and 9th, is my favorite. And right off the bat, I was thinking peacock, which is probably perfect. Or I could do this blue or a green. Well, no. No, I think I like my first. Oh, I like this too. I think I'll go with peacock. Okay, great. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry for just a little bit. I don't want to rush it too much and screw anything up. Okay, I think we're good on that. So lastly, I just need to, I'll use one of these as a guide. I need to put down my binder ring, and I want it to be able to come in. So I want it to have enough room. And I think I'm going to put this on here to help me match this up. Here. And I think the best way is I'm just going to punch it with my crocodile. And then see if I can let me kind of hold that up and see how that looks. Between this and my ruler, this should be pretty close. As long as it's not super wonky, we should be okay. Okay, so these come with little screws, and that's what I like about these, is they're super easy to use. So you unscrew these. Sorry, I have glue all over my hands. drop it in. I have a little screwdriver actually. And the flat part of it, maybe. Sorry, this is not the easiest thing to show on camera, but I'm just screwing the back side of this in. I'm not going to do it too tight, just enough until I get the other side in, and then I'll go back and tighten them. Let me turn the book a little here. Again, just dropping the flat piece in. Kind of holding that in place. I would say you definitely need a little screwdriver for this. Okay, let me just kind of, yeah, I think this is perfect. So I'm going to actually really press or give it some strength and tighten that as tight as I can go. In an ideal world, I would love for these to match up on the back as far as the way the screw head is, but it's okay. It's not the end of the world if it does not. Okay, perfect. So they don't match up, but again, and I actually could put a piece of paper over that, but I like the way that looks. Okay, so now we can put our pages in and see how it looks. These are the 1 inch, I believe. So super cute. I'm really happy with how that turned out.